What is happening, guys? Hope you're having a beautiful day. If you are starting your self-portrait now and you're having trouble adding fractions, go back, watch my fraction video. But if you're not, if you're ready to go, then let's get started. So for this assignment, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this up with my handy dandy X-Acto knife. Make sure my fingers are out of the way. Beautiful. All right, nice clean piece of paper. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a grid to help me draw this portrait of Al Pacino. And for my grid, I'm actually going to enlarge it. So on this sheet, I'm going to use 1-inch squares. So in order to do that, well, let me see. So I got a scrap piece of paper over here from when I did my fraction video. So when you're drawing a line, if I want to draw an even line from top to bottom, and I want that an inch from the margin, if I want a 1-inch strip right here, I'm going to measure 1 inch at the top, and I'm going to take my ruler down and measure 1 inch at the bottom. And if I do not make 2 dots, that line's not going to be accurate. If I don't use a dot at the top and a dot at the bottom, that line's not going to be accurate. I'll show you. Let's say I want to do one line that is, let's say 6 1/4 inches from this end. So this is 6 1/4. All right, I'll just put a dot there. Let's see if I can hit it. I think that's might look good. Nope. I can already tell I'm off. Yep. So this is where it should be. So I'm not off by a significant amount. I don't know if you guys can see that. But if I'm off by a little bit, when you're doing your self-portrait, if you're off by a little bit like that, your face is going to be distorted. So I'm going to do vertical lines this way first, and I'm going to do horizontal lines this way. So vertical lines, 1 inch. Again, I'm going to start at the edge of the paper, and I'm going to put a dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And some people ask, well, Mr. Brown, like, you just want me to use a pencil in there? And the graphite is reflective. So I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, you can. So even though my pencil is not as dark as the black in Al Pacino's hair, if I move the paper just right, I can see that reflection. And that's all I need. That's enough for me to go on. So I'm going to do the same thing again. And I got my ruler squared up with the bottom and my 0 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 is the edge of the paper. Now, I'm going to show you another tip. If I have 2 dots and I want to draw a straight line from here to here, I put my pencil down on the dot, and then I'm looking over here I'm going to press my ruler up against that pencil, and then I'll close in on that dot, and I can feel if this pencil moves, and then all I have to do is look at this dot. And I can draw that straight line. So I'm going to do that now. I'll flip my ruler. And on your reference picture, these lines can be as dark as you need them. Actually, darker lines are a little bit more helpful. I feel like that's off. Oh, there it is. If something feels off too, don't be afraid to stop and double check your work. That. There we go. I got the camera kind of in my way here, so it's a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging for me to see around it. So you hear the chair creaking. I am not farting, I promise you. You'll know if I fart. All right, where's... There we go. So I'm not drawing around any of these features. I want to keep these grid lines nice and perfectly straight. There we go. So now I've got a bunch of lines across Al Pacino's face. Now I'm going to turn this paper this way. And I'm going to do the same thing. Make sure you're not using the metric side. An inch should be a little bit smaller than, well, for me it's 1 inch is a little bit smaller than the width of 2 fingers. All right, line it up. Now the paper is 8.5 by 11, so it'll go to 8.5 on this side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 is right there. And then here's another mistake people make. Sometimes they take their paper and they rotate it. But here's what happens. This is only a 1/2 inch. If I flip my paper, this is only going to be a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to have that extra 1/2 inch here and that extra 1/2 inch here, which means my lines are going to be slanted. They're not going to be straight up and down. They're actually going to go on an angle like that. So I don't want that. So I'm going to flip that back, and there we go. And I can double check, and it should be on 8.5. So this paper is 8.5 by 11, like I said. So this end should be on 8.5, and this end should be on 0, and it is. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, same thing. Pencil down, line it up, send a line. Pencil down, line it up, send that line. There we go. Beautiful. And last one, here we go. Hey, yeah. Oh, I moved my ruler. That should be okay. Okay, so the last step, if you've ever played Battleship, we're going to do a number and letter grid system like on Battleship. So this is going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and K. And then over here, so this top corner square is going to be A1, barbecue sauce. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then row 9 is the one that's only half an inch. And there you have it. That's how to grid your reference picture. And I don't know how we all of a sudden ended up in the South. So after you get this done, then it's time to grid this paper. And I'm going to switch for a sharper pencil. So for this one, I am going to enlarge this because this is a bigger sheet of paper than this. I'm going to make these grid squares 1 1/4 inch large. Now for yours, you might be doing 1 1/2. Just kick the camera. Darn it. All right, there we go. So depending on your size, the size of your paper, you might be going a little bit bigger. But for me, for this, I'm going 1 1/4. So 1 1/4. And then, like I said before, so if I have 1 1/4 and I add 1 1/4, what do I have? $2.50. Or in fractions, I have $2 and a half of a dollar. So 2 1/2. So 1 1/4 plus 1 1/4 is 2 1/2. Make a mark at 2 1/2. So if I have 1 1/4 plus 1 1/4, and I add another 1 1/4, what do I have? I have 3 3/4, or 3 3/4. 3 3/4, which is going to be almost to the number 4. And then if I take, I'm broke, so I don't have it. But if I had another dollar, and I would draw one here, except I'm going to draw my portrait there. So if I had another dollar, I would have, if I add another $1.25 or 1 1/4, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3 3/4 plus another 1 1/4 is 5. And then if you want, if that's confusing, like if that's as far as you can get, if you can only get to 5, slide your ruler, start back at 0 again, and go 1 1/4, 2 1/2, 3 3/4, 5. And then you can keep sliding it if you need to. So I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. 1 1/4, 2 1/2, 3 3/4, 5. What's 5 plus 1 1/4? No, not 6 1/2. 6 1/4. 7 1/2. 8 3/4. 10. And I'm just going to keep adding these. And now, unlike this, when you draw your grid, draw it lightly as you can. Because in the end, as we work, we want to hide this grid so that nobody knows how we did this. So I don't know if my grid lines are showing on the camera. If they're not, that means that I'm doing them perfectly light enough. But you can see I'm drawing my lines the same way. I put my pencil down on the bottom dot, boom. Touch my ruler to my pencil, slide the top of that ruler over, and then draw that line. Very, very light. Whoop. Beautiful. So now I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to do the same thing again. I don't want to do 1 inch because I'm making the whole thing, I'm enlarging it by 1 1/4. I'm going to make 1 1/4, 2 1/2, 3 3/4, 5. And then I'm going to keep going. There. Put one there, put one there, and then I've got an extra little bit. Same thing at the bottom. Again, I didn't rotate my paper, so I did my dots. Oh, you probably couldn't even see that, but I did my dots across the top, and now I'm going to do them across the bottom. Quarter, half, 3/4, and I end up on 5, plus 1 1/4, plus 1 1/4, plus 1 1/4, plus 1 1/4, and now I've got 2 dots here. One of these dots was for drawing this line. One of them is for the line that I need going this way. So I'm gonna double check my measurement. Okay, and I'm gonna make that a little bit longer so that I know which line I'm using, or which dot I'm using rather. All right, so line it up, draw the line. Like that. Like that. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure that your hands are clean. Like, it's easy to smudge your paper. And I'll tell you what, if you smudge your paper in this stage, it's almost, if you can't erase it and fix it, it's almost better to just start over, because like, you're not going to get rid of that smudge. You don't want to start with a compromised drawing surface. All right, so now last step. We did the battleship numbering system. So we've got this top corner is A1, and then we did letters across the top and numbers down the side. I'm going to do the same thing, and again, I'm going to write them real light. A1, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Perfect. And the reason we do that, the reason we use that number system, is so that if I'm drawing his mouth and I'm in this square here, I can go, okay, that's 6, F. And I can find 6, F, and that's where I'm at. And it makes it real easy to keep track of where you are, to find your place. So once you have this done, then it's time to start drawing your portrait. And the next video will show you how to do that.